Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tech Horizon. This is our first episode. This is going to be pretty much just like the Future Report, but it's going to be long form. So we're just going to basically just hang around and talk.
Hang around and talk.
Yep.
Well, we just watched a video on the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And we were having a laugh about it for a lot of reasons. It was a video by MKBHD that aired, I think, back in February. And we were watching it and just kind of laughing at a couple of the design choices of the headset.
Yeah.
We can pull up the video because it was actually pretty funny. I'll make sure this is muted so it doesn't disrupt anything.
Yeah.
But if you want to start off with a couple of the things that you noticed, and I'll kind of pitch or
No, I think that you can.
start it off.
What do you think was the most funny?
Most funny? Okay. Between the way that eyes work through the front of the headset, the proprietary battery that's like the size of like a pea.
Oh my goodness. Listen, that battery pack is bigger than an iPhone, and the iPhone has a bigger battery capacity than in the pack. And it's a proprietary one. Like, you can't take the cord out. You can't. It's got a proprietary little snap-on device for the side of the headset. And it's not like the headset has a battery in it. That is the actual battery. So you have to have that like in your pocket with you.
And yeah, the way that there's no convenient method of having the battery on your person except attached through the said 4-foot cable.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
unattachable 4-foot cable.
Yeah. Like, it's not an oversight, but like it was clearly intentional, so it's not like they didn't realize it until too late and then made some sort of reactive last-second change to make the thing have a battery pack, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, at least give it a strap or an option to put it somewhere in the back of the headset.
Yeah, that's usually what they do now is not Apple, obviously, but they usually put the battery pack in the back of the headset.
Found the video.
They put it in the back just to offset the weight of the front of the headset, because this is not a light headset. Like, these are just a couple of the things. There's 12 cameras, 5 sensors, 6 microphones, 3 custom element sensors or lenses, for the 4K video HDR. And then there's the personalized sound dual driver audio pods that are it's just headphone drivers on the sides.
2 4K OLED displays, and then all of it.
That's the 3 element.
Right. But then also the entire thing's metal, basically. So you're carrying
so it's
around...
aluminum. It's cast aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's milled aluminum. So it's a lot heavier. It's much nicer, though.
It is much nicer, but for headsets, all of that in the front with nothing in the back.
There's nothing in the back. The back is a knit headrest thing. It cups the back of your head. Apparently, it's really comfortable. Like, it's a very nice material.
So that on the topic of comfort, when Linus made his video, so these 2 videos were very similar release times, obviously, because it's the embargo period. So when that lifts, everyone's going to put all their videos out as soon as possible for the algorithm to hit. But when Linus did his, there was a point in the video where he took the headset off, obviously from filming from within the headset for content, and his lines under his eyes were so red that it looked like it had been added in as like an anime reference.
Well, he probably did like 17 takes with that thing on.
That's true, but I've worn like the Quest 2 for hours, and I've never had lines.
Oh my goodness,
that
that gives me bad lines, especially if you have it on. So when you're having it on for like longer play sessions, and if you don't take it off, like if you have the just the cable plugged in and you're just playing, if you want it to be comfortable, you have to crank those straps down. Apparently, just from what I've heard, the strap holds in nicely because it's more of a cup. Mm-hmm. Instead of there being one across the
top.
Less
of like a restraint.
Yeah, it's less of a
like
seat belt and more of like it uses the contour of your head to hold it on, which makes a lot more intuitive sense. But listen, we're still in like the first couple revisions. Quest has only made
5 headsets in the last 10 years?
they've made some kits, but as far as like production units, there's There's the Rift S, the Quest 2, the Quest 3, and the Quest Pro. So there's 6.
6.
And the Quest Pro is way better in terms of comfort. It's got the offset battery in the back. It's got the cup for the back of your head, and it's got a little disc that it's like the regular.
And
like
that's
if you put on a bike
is
helmet.
that at the mid section of the head, like right here by the eye, by like
No.
temple?
It's got the cup for the back of the head, and you tighten it from back.
Because that was a concern that Linus had, was that the Vision Pro, basically you can only adjust the angle of the headset from right where the eyes are, but there's nothing for like in this area.
Yeah, it's as far as like offset weight and stuff. The center of gravity is literally your forehead, which
So
is
it's all about, then it comes down to the
not-
shape of your head
yeah,
for the
'cause
comfort
you're
level.
gonna like be leaning forward, especially because you put the cable on there and it's just more weight at the front. It's just dragging it down more. I did see that the cable can go out the back, so
Does it
it's
route along the...
yeah, it's gonna
around
be
the
like
band?
what we do with our GPUs.
Yeah.
Stopping sag. You gotta hang it up on something, or you're gonna plug it on the side and like put it over your head and like tighten it
I don't know what
down
they're
so
gonna
that
do.
so that it's less strain on the front of your head.
All right.
But with more revisions, it should tune out a little bit.
2 more funny things. The keyboard. So he showed a couple of alternative
Oh
ways
yeah, I forgot about
to
that.
type on this thing. And when you don't have a controller, the only way you can type is by either
Pecking.
pecking it, like pigeon-toeing it,
Yep.
or by using your eyes to look at every individual key. And it was,
Yeah.
we both started laughing at it because it wasn't necessarily because the keyboard itself is that bad. I mean, it's got to work within some sort of constraint, and I
Yeah.
think that it's nearly impossible to get the textile movements of the
Oh
fingers.
yeah, no way.
So you've got to do it somehow. But then the part that made us both laugh was when he said that he preferred to use the look at each key, pinch to select, because he said it was faster and easier, and then proceeded on camera to do a very simple typo in a
Yeah.
6-letter input.
He fixed it very fast.
He did.
But it
But
was
it
a
just
typo
was, I was
nonetheless.
expecting to see like a
I mean, when I think about it, like I do a lot of typing for college and stuff, so I'm looking at the slides like up at the screen and I'm typing like this. I'm not looking at this until I've finished a paragraph of text or like 20 PowerPoints or not PowerPoints, bullet points.
yeah, bullet points.
So when I look back down, yeah, I've got typos, but I didn't have to look at the keyboard for each key that I pressed. And isn't that supposed to be like a main selling point? Is you're supposed to be working from inside this headset.
Yeah.
This isn't like
I
a
think
completely for pleasure headset.
I believe that what Apple wants you to do with this thing is combine it with the MacBook and then
Yeah.
use the keyboard and trackpad with the MacBook like so to get the Vision Pro experience.
Yeah, which is really it's a cool concept.
it's not well
It's
executed
not
yet.
well because you
least I
can
don't
only
think
have
so.
one display. It's limited to one display, which completely defeats the purpose. I've got 2 displays on my computer as is.
Linus made
If
the
I'm
same
going to be
point.
restricted to an 11-inch display while I'm typing on a keyboard, if I want to have a headset on, I want to have 4 displays up there, one with YouTube or music or something, and then like a calculator, which also
Were you
they
laughing
don't
about
have
that?
one.
There
we were
doesn't appear to be a
laughing.
calculator inside
There's
the
no
Vision Pro.
calculator. Well, as far as we saw, because we don't have one, there's no calculator on the headset, which blows my mind. Unless you want to look up the Google calculator on a
Listen,
website.
If you're on iPad, then you're doing that a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or you're downloading one from the App Store.
So you're just gonna have that up there. You're gonna have,
I was
but you
laughing
can't have
'cause
multiple displays like that. You can have the headset.
So
displays.
we do a lot of like we were thinking like I was actually thinking about this because I do a lot of inventory work at my job, and one of the things that would be amazing, just amazing, would be to have just the ability to slap a calculator on some surface where you couldn't actually put a calculator at all. Like if you're using the Vision headset and you have a cabinet in front of you that's flat, what if I just turn this into a calculator for right now? And if I'm counting out a ton of inventory and I can just cycle count it real quick just by typing in the numbers, or better yet, I mean, with how good the spatial recognition is on this headset, why not just make the headset count it for me? Why do I have to count it when I can
That
just
seems
hold
like
a
it
group
would
of
be a lot
objects
more of a-
and I can just count them?
That would be a lot higher of a
It could be.
process.
It could be, but I mean, they're proving that it can be. It could be possible. That could be
Yeah.
great if you could train it to an object,
With
pick up an
AR
object.
technology, it should be able to. There's the AR technology, and then there's AI technology that should be able to recognize the image and count it for you if you made an algorithm from it. That doesn't
I mean,
make
and
sense.
Apple's proven, like, with their FaceTime implementation, they can do algorithms very, very well. They know how to set up things to be spatially reasonable.
Which is another thing. The face recognition.
Ooh, yeah, we found that that was a little
yeah,
funny.
So with the FaceTime, apparently it's really good. So you can see your whole face. If you turn to look at something, like it sees the side of your head. Well, it looks at the side of your head because it does the Face ID reading where you turn and then you look up and you look down, like those types of things. So it's got that.
So it has all the data for the major perspectives of your face.
The eyes are so pristine. And then you look at the hair and it looks like a 3D model. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like it goes from like extreme, like it can see every detail from the center of your nose, and then it works out and it just becomes more plastic as it comes out.
That was the impression that I got of it too, and I think that's why it doesn't quite get you in the uncanny valley as much, because perception of reality is broken so badly by how stiff the rest of your body is.
Yeah,
compared to your eyes and your mouth.
the uncanny valley comes from the eyes almost entirely, like the positioning of the eyes and nose and like the mouth, the key facial features. It's not the shape of the head, even though that does
more. What I'm saying by that is, I mean, in the other way around. I'm saying the reason that I don't find it as uncanny is because of how unrealistic it becomes.
So we're
the
talking
further
about the
away
same
from
thing.
the eyes you go. Yeah, we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, the eyes, because the eyes are so crystal clear, I think that kind of like, that's what makes the difference between it being in that category and not, which is probably something they struggled with early on. That's probably why they have to spend so much on these headsets. Like the cost is so high, not just for the user. Like it actually costs so much to build these headsets.
I can give you guys the rough estimate for those of you watching on YouTube. I can put a link as well. Yeah, I'll put the link in there. But this is information from the WAN show. The closest estimate you can get is around $1,200,
which is
per unit.
Ludicrous.
For context, the iPhone 15, which I'll pull that up, the iPhone 15 Pro build cost estimate. If I can pull that up, it would actually be more convenient if I searched that up a second ago. But the revealed cost, let me see, 15 Pro Max. To make that is about, so the 15 Pro Max is about $100 more than its successor. The entire thing costs to build. Let's see if I can't find it. 15 Pro Max costs Apple an average of about $500. At which point they will then turn around and sell it for around $1,200 to $1,400.
It costs how much?
$500 to make, and then about...
Really?
It's probably, if I had to guess, it probably is a little bit less than that. But it's about $1,500 to sell. So to say that the Vision Pro is incredibly overpriced, I don't think that that's actually true, because for iPhone, they've had the ability to use, they're using the same processor in one of the phones. The 15 has an A14 in it, so it's not a new piece of technology. It has the same operating system.
I didn't know that those margins were so slim.
For the Vision Pro or for the iPhone?
For the iPhone.
I
thought they made so much more money on those.
I think it's lower than this, personally.
Yeah, no, that's got to be.
But my point is,
sort of trip.
Keep in mind, the Vision Pro had way more R&D than the 15 Pro Max. The 15 Pro Max is as much of an iteration as it is, like, as much as you can say it's like an advancement.
The iPad Pro, apparently the manufacturing cost, I'm just looking on Google right now, it's coming from PC Cores. I don't know how credible this is, but $960 manufacturing cost from a $1,200 MSRP. They only profit $240.
That sounds realistic for the display only.
But
it's big, but that doesn't make sense still.
Manufacturing something mass production like that for $960, that's ludicrous.
I feel like the iPad one might be less accurate than the iPhone one.
Yeah, all right. I'm not going to use this anymore.
But the thing is, let's see, $100. So I think that the iPhone 14 was the one where I first saw that number, and I went, sheesh, that's incredibly... that's a much better margin, because apparently the 15 Pro Max costs more to make than the 14 did. But the thing is with these products is that, in my personal opinion, like, Apple isn't charging as much as people think. I think that for certain things they definitely are. I don't think that if you purchase a MacBook, RAM should cost anywhere near $250. That has never made sense to me. And I also don't think that it makes sense that an iMac...
They're adding a part charge on top of that.
Exactly. But it doesn't... There's no reason for it to be that expensive.
Yeah.
I would consider that price gouging. I don't also think that it's fair for a computer in 2024. It's 2024. For a computer to
what
come
was
with
that? You're just
8
like,
gigs
pause.
I just can't believe it because my computer, my MacBook from a decade ago at this point, plus had 8 gigs of RAM. And here we are now with
what
programs.
Does that have in it?
This one probably only has 4 because it was like the base model.
What year is that?
2014?
Yeah, I have the iPad or the
4 gigs.
The MacBook Pro 2013.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah,
but
I have the 2013. And
but
it's,
even back then, that was considered low.
Yes, 8 gigs, I think. Yeah.
And the fact that they were selling $1,000 iMacs.
I don't know how much RAM and stuff that the Vision Pro has. I can't find that much.
I don't think it's publicized. I don't think they publicized it.
Yeah, I can't find that much specifications on here.
My point being is I think for something like the Vision Pro, Apple has put way more R&D development time, effort, and engineering into this machine than any of the other ones they've made in the past couple of years. And for the first time, the price actually kind of makes sense for what it is. I think its biggest downside, personally, like just jokes aside, I think its biggest problem is that for the people that it's actually designed for, like the productive person, why'd you make that face?
I was gonna say
128 gigs of DDR5?
No. It said the M2 could support up to 24 gigs of RAM, and I looked at that and I was like, I thought it said 24 gigs, which would be outrageous, but no, it's got 8 CPU cores, 10 GPU cores, 16 gigs of RAM.
That's very reasonable.
256 gigabytes of SSD storage.
I find that very reasonable. For it, considering it's still technically a mobile unit, that's pretty reasonable.
And it's got a 4K display.
Technically, it's got 2, because one for each eye. I mean,
and then there's the split display on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
But
along with speakers, a good microphone, all of the cameras, all of the sensors, it's not a bad product. I think back to what I was saying. I think its biggest problem is that it's built for productivity and clearly not for games.
Yeah,
obviously,
it's not a gaming device. It was never intended.
It was never intended to be.
This is really not for any specific use case.
Well, let me finish.
Yep,
I don't think that the thing is, it's supposed to be Vision Pro. It's supposed to be professional. It's supposed to be for your average worker in like an editing situation, like a person with an editing job, someone doing a ton of conference work to get that ability to pull themselves out of the office and work in their own space with unlimited resources at their disposal. One problem with that, in my opinion, is that if it's not going to be able to game that well at all, you can watch Linus's video on that. He tries to play Fruit Ninja, and it does great by placing objects in the right spot, but then it doesn't have the sensitivity for you to even play the game very well. It's not very good. So if the headset can't game, then
see, it's got the 12 millisecond.
But that's for pass through. I'm saying for the actual
for the game itself.
Just for the game's ability to know what your hand is supposed to be doing, regardless of the latency.
Okay,
It doesn't have a controller. So when you're trying to do really fast movements, it just can't do it.
It needs to be able to process, process by process, what your hands are doing, and then what action they're supposed to be doing. As far as like a right click or a left click, and then like a drag. It doesn't know if you're just moving your hand.
Exactly.
Or
it needs
if
to know
you're selecting
it needs to know what the context of your action is.
Exactly.
Along with the accuracy of where your hand even is.
If you're like in the pass-through mode, right? If you're having a conversation, I talk with my hands so much, obviously. So if I imagine you're just sitting with the Apple Vision Pro, imagine you're having a conversation with someone, and you just like move your hand, and then all of a sudden you swipe something from this way to like in front of who you're talking to. That would just be outrageously annoying. So it needs to be able to process if you're actually making a gesture or not. So I can understand why that would make the gaming experience of it.
So let me make my point.
Yeah.
So yes, everything you've just said is kind of how I feel about the headset. But my problem is if it's not going to be able to game, then why on earth are its productivity features 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step forward, 2 steps back? Okay, keyboard isn't that great. So there's no controllers. You can't put a controller in this thing. Handheld, haptic, whatever. No Vive stands, nothing for full body.
Haptics.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's your hands and the camera sensor's ability to know what your hands are doing. So you basically only got what Apple gave you, which is actually a very common Apple problem. So keyboard, you can't input stuff very efficiently. Like you don't have someone who's able to type at 300 words per minute on a Vision Pro. It's just not happening.
No, I saw 15 words per minute. That's pretty much...
and I mean... Yeah, okay, sending a text, great. On my way, you can do that in 15 words per minute. Typing a document,
yeah, but
not
when
as
are
much.
you going to be in that? That's exactly what I'm saying. You need to think about the context. Like the Maps app. Like, you're not going to be, like, running to go get in your car saying, I'm on my way.
Now, they might have walkers in mind. They might think someone who's walking will pass through.
That's true, but then at that point, why would you be rushing to text someone?
You wouldn't.
Yeah,
but
so
what I'm saying
it's
is,
all going to be long-form texting.
The thing is, they keep advertising
that.
it, and the people they use and the settings they use to show off its features are in the work environment.
Yeah.
So then what I'm saying is, if you can't input stuff directly to the headset very well, then you would think, okay, plug it into my MacBook, or obviously, however they have the holographic pairing system, pair it to the MacBook. Why can I only have one MacBook screen? Why can't I have all of my virtual desktops from macOS available to me through Vision Pro? Why can I only bring out my laptop screen, make it bigger, whatever I want to do, and then have to drag in Vision Pro apps?
Yeah, there's not many apps at all.
And that's the other problem. There's not a great
the built-in
selection
apps, you
yet.
basically just have, whenever you open an iPad for the first time, that is pretty much the apps you get. Besides, I can see there's an app called Mindfulness. I don't know what that is. And then Encounter Dinosaurs.
Incredible.
That is all the apps that you get. You get like Freeform and Keynote and Safari.
And I noticed that too. When a lot of reviewers were first getting their first impressions of the headset, it wasn't how does this thing improve my work? It was I'm on the moon or I'm touching a dinosaur. Yeah. And I'm not trying to belittle what Apple did, because they did something that no one else can do with their size. And it's for a first generation product of what it is.
No one else can do is a crazy take, but
I would say that just right now because it's money. Meta could do this. They just don't want to try to hit that market.
And Meta and Vive. Valve. Valve is...
They could. But I'm saying is nobody wants to try to...
that they would still be able to create. It's just that initial investment of, is AR the future? Or should we be continuing to fight for the best headset in VR?
Now, what I will say to that...
But
go ahead.
Let me finish. The VR... What you have in AR is completely different than VR. Mm-hmm. VR is an extremely competitive space. They're like Valve and Rift, or not. I keep on using the names of the headsets.
I know what you're talking
Valve
about.
and
the other headset manufacturers that are known,
Quest.
that are like viable right now to do this.
Valve and Quest are fighting tooth and nail to have the best headset for VR.
So it's three ways then. So it's HTC who makes Vive. It's Meta who makes Quest, and then Steam or Valve who makes the Index.
Yes.
So it's the three.
It's those three
fighting
that are
for the VR space.
Yeah, and
then
there's
and then
all these
Apple.
debates about who's got the best and who's better. But I think that right now Meta is the best in the not hands-free, but not plugged in, like battery. No.
Oh, okay. You mean like for standalone?
Standalone. That's what I was looking for. Standalone. As far as standalone goes, I believe that Meta is
I
the
agree
best.
with you. However, there's only what I mean by that is it's not that Apple's the only one who could physically make a headset do what this is doing, but Apple's the only one who could make it for everybody. The only reason I say that is because if you were to buy this
so
and
many
you
more
already
people
have
are willing
an
to
Apple,
try it.
Yes, but the thing is, if you already have an iPhone, if you already have an Apple Watch, if you already have a MacBook,
which is
then
exactly
you buy
what
a Vision
MKBHD
Pro.
was talking about. You're already interconnected.
Exactly.
Like that.
So when you get a Vision Pro, the setup is so minimal You just turn it on.
And you do the face.
That's all I mean. Because we're the kind of people that we see right through that and we don't really care. Because me setting up a local web server to make my computer stream to my headset, 5 minutes.
See, this is what happens to me. I see one of these products and I'm like, that is so cool. And I'm like, I want to buy that. And then if I could afford it.
Yeah,
and
I
then
don't have $4,000 in my pocket.
I do as much research as I possibly can because I want to know, like, what are all the cool things that this does. And then at the end of it, I'm just like, wow, this is a really limited experience. And that's pretty much, like, I wanted to buy a Tab 8 or whatever it is. Like, like one of the Samsung tablets. Yeah, I wanted to buy a Samsung tablet. And then after doing all this research, it's like, why did I want this? Basically to draw. And I suck at drawing. So maybe note-taking, but that's pretty much it. That's kind of like the process that I go through.
My thing with that too is, see, I've done the same thing. I've wanted when the Galaxy Tab S6, the small $200 tablet, comes with a full-size S Pen. I like my S Pen. It's half-sized. The big one for my bigger hands would be great.
Yeah.
$200, you can sync notes. And I thought, you know what? Why not? And honestly, I feel like I probably should have made the purchase when I got the discount.
Yeah.
But I just didn't. But the thing is, that's a $200 purchase. I could make that and be completely fine with it only ending up being a remote display. However, if I don't see how that can be the same argument when you scale it up to an almost $4,000 product after tax. That's really difficult to do. Like, you won't find me in line for this. Not because I hate the product.
When somebody looks at this product and they say, like, it's running the Vision OS operating system. It's completely separate. It's completely the same. It's the same thing as iPad OS. It's the same thing as Mac OS, except more limited. Yes, it's cool that, like, they're all over the novelty. Like, yeah, I plugged it in and I connected it to my MacBook and I got my notifications. Really? You can't just look at your watch? You've already got something. You don't even have to take it out of your pocket yet. You just want to see it in the corner of your eye now? Yeah, that's pretty cool. How about the 2-hour battery life where you don't have to be doing anything? If it's turned on, yeah,
it says
in 2
to
hours.
4, but is it
no,
2?
On Apple's website, it says up to 2 hours of general use.
Yeah, so you're going to assume 2 hours.
And it makes a disclaimer because they want to make their products look better. And yeah, it's a truth. You can use it while it's plugged in.
Amazing. Really?
Really?
So the standalone headset can operate if I just plug it into a wall outlet.
Yeah. Well, not plug into the wall outlet.
Oculus Rift just left them. I just missed a call from Rift. They'd like their product back.
They like their product.
I'm kidding. But the thing is, that's what I'm saying. So it's like the point that I was making a minute ago about, like, it not bringing enough to the table for how much it costs. How much of this can be rectified by software and updates and changes?
Well, yeah, that's true.
But
and we've seen how much software can change a device. There's so much that's not unlocked yet.
I realize that. But where does that place the Vision Pro right now? I think that it's not viable.
No, it's not really useful for pretty much anyone. Not even, it's targeted at productivity users. Not even them. I feel like this is more of like all right, now I need to be next to this wall instead.
So have you watched the Linus video on this yet?
I haven't.
Okay, so let me fill you in on 2 other things that are missing from this headset. So in the work environment. So 1, you simply can't share stuff as easily. Okay. So the thing that Vision Pro was trying to solve was when you're in the office and you're working with something potentially, let's say sensitive.
Yeah.
Customer information, let's say information from a business or a client that's not on a need-to-know basis. It's on a completely restricted basis. Yep. You can do the screen cover film or whatever, or you can just bring it into Vision Pro, spread it out as big as you want, do whatever you want to do, yada, 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 do all the markups on it as you need to in your own space where no one else can possibly see it. It's perfectly secure.
That's an awesome
until
idea.
You need to share something.
Yeah, because then it's just going over the internet.
No, not even that. The problem was that there isn't even an unsecure way to do it. Linus had to do
email it.
No, so he wanted to do.
No,
there is. So that's the thing. You can share it, but what I mean by share is I mean collaborate. So you can work by yourself just fine. That was a poor term on my part. You can't collaborate.
Okay.
So the thing that makes Apple great is that there are many things you can just add someone to and collaborate. And Android's been coming around to this a lot recently with the collaborative notes and a lot of apps.
There's
It's
no
great.
productivity apps. It's just the
There are
normal
some,
apps.
but they're linked through the MacBook. So it kind of is reliant on you both having a MacBook and the patience to configure, you'll love this, a virtual desktop inside of macOS that basically screen records the output of the virtual display that's being shown to the Vision
Does that
Pro.
not just
And
defeat the purpose?
then you can mark up on another MacBook.
Oh my goodness.
So at least that's how what I got from it. I think I might have mixed it up a little bit, but that's
the purpose of not using a MacBook in the first
so
place.
yeah, basically the solution to getting any kind of productivity out of using the Vision Pro is to buy a MacBook and just use a MacBook. Linus also showed how.
So at least
go ahead.
In that scenario, the MacBook screen turns off.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be
Yes.
like you're remoting in. It does turn
Correct.
off.
It basically makes it so when it turns off, you can bring the display
that is a perk,
over it.
if that's what you want to call it. That
Correct.
is an upside.
But it's not more productive. It's more
No.
eye candy and it's more secure technically just because people can't see what you're doing. But it's not necessarily better.
That opens up things for a less secure being on a proxy and
Yeah, all that. But
all that
I mean, within reason, for the average person in office trying to see information, it's more secure.
Yeah,
Network and security and everything, that's not, I have no way of knowing how the Vision Pro even works in that regard. So I have no opinion on it.
yeah. Unfortunately, we can't test it. But.
Hey, does anyone who watching this want to give us $4,000? I promise you it'll all go to a Vision Pro.
Somebody get us into Apple. Somebody get us on
someone
that
get
loop.
Tim Apple on the phone. I'd like to try out your goggles, please. So
Let me
anyway,
get a pair of your glasses.
so the other thing that Linus did as well is that he showed how there are a lot of downsides to having it do pass through the entire time while you're working. And one of them was that he thought one of the use cases could be for a video editor.
Yeah.
Bring it into the editing suite, blow up your content on two perfectly good 4K displays. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you plug in the headset directly to the MacBook?
I don't think you can.
So, but can you charge the battery through the
As far as I know, no.
Oh my goodness.
But I think that it's considering it's
so now you're taking up two outlets.
so you could I think you can plug the battery bank into the MacBook and then the MacBook into the wall.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what I think
so,
you can do.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think you can actually
That is
connect
so redundant.
through software. I don't believe you can connect the Vision Pro to the MacBook
No.
directly.
I'm saying
and
as
you
in
can't
charging
get the headset
it, as
to
in
the
charging.
MacBook directly
No,
either.
because there's no cable
it's
you
the
can
twist
get.
lock.
Yeah.
So you'd have to find a way to jerry
The cable only comes on that battery bank.
If someone ever feels generous enough to give us a headset, we will terminate some cables.
I'm down.
You down? I'm down. So the last thing was that Linus brought this into his editor, and he said, well, take a look at this as an example. So if you can't use it to collaborate with notes, you can't use it for much of anything except writing notes for yourself, provided you already have $1,000 or more MacBook. Let's be real. So your prices at this point are $5,000.
Well, there's a Notes app on the headset. Let's be real.
There is, but it's not. But who's buying the headset to try to work without it? 15 words per minute's crazy.
That's great.
But so he brings it into his editor, and he's showing her working in.
So, go.
And she has, I believe it was like 5 monitors in like a grid pattern.
Okay.
And he said, if you look at my editor here and the way that she's working, you can see that for her to see any content on her monitor, it's a matter of glancing to the left, right, up, down, whatever she's doing, and all the content's right there. He said that when you're using the MacBook, you can't split your virtual display, so you get whatever
you get one display.
One virtual display from the MacBook. So whatever the MacBook sees on one display, meaning if you're swiping left and right between desktops, you're going to be doing that anyway.
Hold up.
Go ahead.
You can make it larger.
That's pretty good,
Productivity? No. Okay, well, I guess
if you're
you
video
can
editing,
make
that
it
is
larger.
something.
You can make it larger, that is a perk. But you can't. I guess you
all
could
your
drag
content,
the
all your
windows into
content
the
will
corners.
scale anyway, but then you have to deal with that.
I guess you could make scaled windows, so you could get 4.
But it gets worse. So you can't actually get more of your laptop to spread out. So you end up having to supplement using the Vision Pro's apps and your MacBook apps.
Yeah, I
but
know
you
can
can
use both.
trackpad, but with the trackpad, you can navigate across all of them seamlessly. But
Really?
He showed that. He was on Spotify with the trackpad clicking on stuff. But you can't.
And MKBHD?
Correct.
No.
We just watched that.
No, he wasn't using the mouse pad.
Was he not?
No, he was using his hand.
Oh.
So you can be like this, like typing on the
And then
laptop,
working.
and then like
It looked
use
like he
your
was
hand.
using the trackpad, so that's my mistake.
Yeah,
but
no.
even with that enabled, it's still.
How would you even do that in 3D space? How would you use a trackpad? It's a 2-dimensional thing.
I really don't know. But I mean, to be fair, the windows do show up as 2D, so it could still work. It just wouldn't be as polished.
You'd have to like go this way.
Yeah.
Like go through the side to get to the side of another.
I'm really not sure. But the other problem is that because you're seeing the entire world through the cameras, you can't use the Vision Pro to actually look at your monitors at all because the cameras are not going to get the color accuracy whatsoever. And Linus demonstrated this by holding up, it was a color calibration card.
Oh, yeah.
One inside of the headset that he had taken a scan of in the headset that you were viewing through the screen, which looked amazing.
Okay.
And then he held one up in real life. And even just through no HDR, just straight up YouTube 720p, the color was like vastly different. Okay. So for a color, if you're doing color editing or video editing, it's not super great. And then the worst of all offenders in this situation, I'm sorry, I'm going on.
No,
but the last thing, you can't even save your layouts for your desktops. So let's say you sit down to your desk, you set up everything how you want it, then you have to leave to go to work or to go do something else. You return, turn on the headset. It's just whatever whatever the default state is, and you have to then bring up everything.
That is so annoying. You can leave it in standby mode.
You can.
But if it turns off, oh my goodness.
So your layouts, as of right now, time of writing in March 2024, you get nothing. You have to do it by hand every time.
Man.
So Linus basically said there's so much friction.
Hey, but at
using
least
this
there's
thing.
podcast.
There
at least
is
there's
podcast.
the podcast app.
And that means you can
listen
watch
to
us.
Yeah.
Yes, you can watch us on the Vision Pro. So for all of you who have a Vision Pro, hit us up and just let us know if you're watching the podcast.
And let us know if you like your Vision Pro.
Yeah. Sorry we're dogging on your product a little bit there, but hopefully you get better software updates for your sake. But yeah, I mean,
you can look at stonks.
Yeah.
There's the stocks app.
There's the stocks app. But yeah, basically to summarize the whole thing, great product. Physically, it's a great product. Great enough software, not enough stuff to do, and too much friction to be productive.
Here's the thing. Yeah. That's.
What's your take on it?
I think that there is a huge upside, and that is you can watch movies on it. You can use Apple TV, and Disney Plus comes preloaded on it too. Mm-hmm. You can't use Netflix right now. You can use it through a web server.
So no Vision exclusive Netflix.
No,
content
or
at all.
YouTube.
Yeah.
There's no YouTube or Netflix app as of right now. As of March 8th, 2024.
March
you
9th,
can
YouTube
use it
gives up.
through Safari, and apparently it looks pretty darn good. But because it's a 4K display with the crazy color, whatever you call it.
I don't know what the color accuracy of it is.
Apparently, it's really good. It's like cream of the crop display. It's pretty much the best you can get.
As part of the part cost, apparently the displays themselves were like easily $400. So I mean, I would hope that they're good.
Part of the massive cost, but at least you can watch movies on it, and you're gonna watch those movies at like some insane color and resolution. So.
The only thing is, for the price of the unit, you could buy almost top of the line TV.
I'm not comparing it here.
And a couch.
I didn't say that.
And buy yourself some friends.
Yeah, you can.
And some beers.
You could buy a couch. You could buy some treats. You could buy some TV.
For movies and entertainment, different strokes for different folks. If you want to watch a movie alone and have the most immersive experience of all time, Vision Pro.
Yep.
Otherwise, probably not. So with that in mind, then, what's your take on the Vision Pro headset from the price to the?
Oh my goodness.
To the performance to whatever you think.
I don't even want to answer that because I could not see myself buying one of those.
Okay, so let's take yourself out of the equation. What's your take on it?
My take is that it's a unique product, absolutely beautifully built. Like it's the build quality is exceptional. The headset apparently is comfortable. There's only so much I can say because I don't have one. Mm-hmm. But as far as productivity, it's terrible. You have to jump through so many hoops for it to be actually useful in any way.
That was kind of my opinion of it as well. So you mentioned the stock market on the app on the Vision Pro a second ago.
No.
Do you want to talk about some of the companies and some of the possibly a certain blue friend of ours that we've talked about quite a few times on this podcast?
So Team Red over here, AMD, is completely destroying our friends over at Intel.
I'm going to pull up the details real quick because it's a little funny.
Yeah, so apparently AMD, the stock market for AMD is up 700%. In how long was the...
Okay, so I believe I'm looking at the 1 year. It's 161% for the year.
Okay,
Intel's over 1 year. Sorry.
So Intel over, let's see, Intel over 1 year.
Actually, let's just go by this year. Let's go to, you can see it really clearly.
Let's do 5 years. Let's do 5 years.
Sure.
Over 5 years. Are you on AMD?
I'm on both.
All right, I'm on Intel right now.
Yeah.
Intel is, over the past 5 years, is down negative 16%.
Yeah, mine's a little different. Mine says 17, but yeah.
Yeah, 16.16. So.
Meanwhile, AMD is chewing it up, thriving right now. Mine says plus 774%.
Here, I'm going to pull that up over on my end.
It's absurd. The line is, it's a completely inverse.
Over the past 5 years.
With Intel taking a huge dip.
You said how much is yours?
Mine says 700%.
Where are you getting that from?
It is from IEX Cloud, which I can check the validity of that.
So on just the Microsoft Bing,
Bing.
on the stock analysis, it says it's up 842%.
Sheesh. So I was off by a lot then, if this is wrong.
The previous close was at 211.
Okay.
And then for Intel, the previous close was at 46.
Negative 46 or 46 up?
No, $46.
Oh, dollars. Yeah, mine's $44 here, and then
for previous close or current.
This one is 5 years time, so yeah, previous close it says there is 207.30. I think this is a little behind.
Okay.
Because yours has been going up, so I believe your information is more recent than mine, but it's not going to save Intel. It's not saving Intel in this
We're
situation.
not stock experts here. We are computer experts, not the stock experts.
But it's not saving Intel. So do you want to talk a little bit about why that's happening?
So,
come on. We just watched this.
I know. So as far as Intel is concerned, they're just not doing so well on their CPU side. As far as graphics cards are concerned, I'm going to stick with my word, and I'm going to say they're still crushing the GPU market. Not as far as market share, but
they're late to the party.
They're really late as far as GPUs are concerned, but they're doing well on the GPU side. But CPUs, they're getting crushed. They make a good product, don't get me wrong. Like they make debatably some of the best CPUs as far as performance. But when you're talking about like all things considered, the price of the component, so it's like $400 for the 14900K, and then for the I thought
it was the 14700K that came in at $400. I might be wrong though. The prices have been going down a lot, so I'll pull up the 14700K on Amazon.
14900K.
Yeah, so it's $400 for a 14700KF.
Okay.
So I guess 400 or a little more for a normal one. For a K.
Oh yeah, it's 500, 550 for the 14. So the 14900K. But as I was saying, it's about $400 for the 14900K. But for the Ryzen 7, what was it? The
Ryzen 7 7800X3D.
Yeah, that
whole mouthful.
Yeah, that one. That is coming in at like 340 or 350, something like that.
I'll pull it up for you and get you that info.
It wavers by like $10. So
yeah, you would know more than me. You're the price guy.
But for as for that, that's
$369 at time of writing. Bestseller.
All right.
Surprise.
So yeah, that's up by $10. It makes sense because their stock prices are going up. But Intel's just losing market share because they're not making as good of products. They're coming in at higher price marks. Everybody knows that Intel motherboards are more expensive than AMD motherboards. So you're getting yourself into a more expensive category if you go with Intel. Not only that, but the power draw on Intel CPUs like doubles or triples what AMD pulls. We're talking, what's the TDP on those?
So the 14900K pulled a 555 on one of the Gamer Nexus
555
charts.
watts
I'm sorry,
TDP.
500.
That's ridiculous.
I think we were gawking at that when the 3090 pulled a 500 4 short years ago. And now the CPUs are doing it now.
I'm looking at the Ryzen 7 TDP.
Let's see if new Corsair Vengeance DDR5 12,000 or whatever 120,000 megahertz RAM pulls 500 watts next.
What's the TDP on the 7800X3D?
If I'm gonna make a rough guess, I think it's a 165 watt chip. I think
it's 120.
120.
It pulls 120. It's almost 5 times as much. It's like 4 times as much.
Now, in fairness to the charts at Gamers Nexus, they are running those chips way higher than most people will. They're looking for a power peak. So Intel's
I just looked up
Intel's chips won't
default.
power. Yeah. So the thing is with Intel chips is that at least this is okay. This is where my knowledge is a little tiny bit spotty about these things. However, I do own a 7950X, and my experience is that my chip doesn't pull by wattage; it pulls by temperature. Meaning it'll go as hard as it possibly can until it reaches the TJ max point, which is 95 degrees Celsius. They go by temperature. So if I can keep mine cooler than that, then my CPU will go, hey, there's more headroom, let's push a little more. And on my current system, I get about 5.56 gigahertz. But Intel goes by wattage. If you have a cooler that can do whatever, then the Intel chip could care less about whatever temperature it's running at, and it just floors it. So I'm pretty sure that those charts at Gamers Nexus were just them trying to get the chips to top out somewhere, where it's at this point so unstable that it's almost harmful, and they stopped at 500 something.
Yeah, the Ryzen 7 7800X3D is a 120 watt TDP. Yeah. It's like, and that's from Tom's Hardware. So that's ridiculous. I can't believe, like, just I've like seen this like 20 times now, and every time I'm just as baffled. Like, how can it be that different? Like, the chips aren't even that different anymore. Intel just picked up exactly what AMD's been doing for years, since 2016. They just started doing what is it, micro?
Yeah, chiplet design.
Yeah, the chiplet design.
They call it tile. They call it tile.
Yeah, the tile design.
Chips versus tiles, guys. Semantics.
But so I can't believe that just having basically the same architecture now, and they're both running in land grid array. That was I stumbled. They're both running on land grid array, and it's still peaking at 555 watts TDP.
So they're stealing AMD's homework in a couple of ways, but then they're not actually getting the power draw improvements.
No, they're not seeing the same results that AMD sees. Why? Well, I don't know.
3090 has this is from techpowerup.com. The NVIDIA RTX 3090 Founders Edition has a total power draw of 350 watts, which is almost 35% higher than the 2080 Ti Founders Edition card and 40% higher than the reference spec card. However, custom cards with TDPs over 400 are being released by AIBs. It goes on from there. I'm not going to finish reading that whole article. But the two of us were in the car when we were hearing about the 3090 launch, because I forget what we were doing. I think we were on a basketball trip, because we spent a lot of time talking about this.
That was a long time ago.
We were dying laughing about that. Like, that was a topic of ridicule.
Yeah, the
NVIDIA cards watts. Pulling that much wattage from the wall. Meaning, oh, you want an NVIDIA card? Do you have a power supply with that? Does it come with a bundle with the power supply?
Yeah,
was the running joke.
Yeah, and because of the custom pins too, remember?
Yes, there was the burning up pin connector.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I remember that. We were sitting in like a van or something, and we were laughing between ourselves because nobody else knew what we were talking about. We were just laughing between ourselves that It was drawing 350 watts, and it had a custom connector now.
And we made the point where it was like, imagine if you have an older, like, pre-built system with an i7, some other card.
Yeah, with a 250 watt power supply.
No, it'd be more like a 700 watt. And then a 700 watt is somehow not enough.
No way.
Somehow not enough.
You do not see pre-builts with a 700 watt power supply. No way. 450 max.
Sure. But the running joke
Unless
was
it's like Alienware or something.
Maybe. But then you're not replacing it anyway.
That's true.
Because it's custom built to the chassis, so good luck. Yeah. But now here we are. Now it's the chips themselves are pulling more.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
So now it's like one of two things. So now either you buy an Intel
120 watts is reasonable. Mm-hmm. It's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
Because it was like 52 like 2 generations ago, right?
No, it was still high. It was just we didn't have efficiency. So now we have
Not too long ago, we had 52 watts. I know that.
We still have it. It's just, I think, let me see. Because I know if you look up the Ryzen 7 1700, the 1700 power draw, I don't think it's 50. It's more than that.
65.
There we
go.
go.
The Ryzen 5 5500 TDP.
But that's a lower end chip. So,
I'm talking about just chips.
Let's say the Ryzen 7 1700X, the first Ryzen 7, versus this now like flagship Ryzen 7's TDP. I'm pretty sure it's close to the same. Hasn't gone up that much.
Well, I'm gonna look at the 2700X. Just
oh yeah, that's one you have. I'll look up the 1700 and I'll tell you what it pulls.
Well, the 2700X pulls 105.
The design power on this one still says 65 as well. So I guess that's doubled as well over the years.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong, we've increased.
Yeah.
But we haven't increased from 100 to 5500 or 555. So let's look at the i5, Core i5. And which one should we look at? An older one. What's an older i5?
1200?
So 6500.
Ryzen 5 1200?
No, Core i5.
Core i5. Okay, let's say like 7600 was around when the 1200.
I looked at the 6500.
Okay.
65 watts. So we went from an equal amount of TDP to...
So you're saying they were comparable back then?
Yeah, 65 watts to 65 watts. It's comparable. It's the same. And then we went to the same generation, this much, what was that, 2016? It came out in like 2016 or something.
2016.
Yeah.
I feel like these things had pulled more power, though. I'm trying to remember why.
No, well, there were some, remember you were dealing with Threadrippers?
But this was before Threadripper, though. This is before I got into that. I remember hearing about people saying never buy AMD way back when they were in their infancy. And one of the problems
What about the Bulldozer architecture?
It might have been Bulldozer, because I know Bulldozer was known to be terrible.
Yeah,
like
Bulldozer
if
was not
Ryzen
efficient at all,
Zen 1 was a problem, Bulldozer was a problem and a half. Like Bulldozer was miserable. You could get like a Wraith the FX Blacks. Those I think it was the 86.
Was that the Athlon chips?
Athlon was part of Bulldozer, but the ones that were really known to be decent, at least comparable, were FX. It was
that's when they used clustered multi-threading.
Ew. AMD FX.
Ew.
It was like 80 something black. It's been a long time. We have one of these.
I think it was
still.
an Athlon.
You know we still had one of these, right? What happened to that?
I have it.
You still have it?
Yeah.
Because we have one of these. It was the there it is. Black Edition FX 8300.
Oh, FX, that's what it was. I was trying to find that newer one. So FX 8300.
Yeah, these were abysmal chips, at least compared to Intel.
FX 8300. Oops. I messed up. Wow. You can't just find TDP of those off the gate because there wasn't that much information on them. Tech power up. 95 watts.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, that sounds a lot more like what I remember.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking significantly further back than Zen 1. So that's my fault.
All right, so but what I'm saying is in 2016, around the year 2016, we were seeing 65 watts TDP for a normal chip. And then all of a sudden, here we are at the i9, and we're drawing 555 watts while the Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 9, the equivalents over there,
I think they both are in the same.
Are still running between 100 to 200. I know that's a huge range, but we're talking about
even if it was
300 watts difference.
Even if it was
anyway.
200 watts versus 500
350
change.
watts.
But the thing that's also amazing to me is that, like, if you really think about it, the fact that every single time AMD's been given an opportunity to strike with Ryzen, they've blown it out of the water. Like, Intel went stagnant for 4, 5, 6, and 7th generation Intel. They just weren't really doing that much. And then AMD comes along with Zen. It's like, hey, we do multi-thread processes better than you.
Just to throw this in there real quick, just for the representation. An AMD Ryzen 9 7950 X3D, the most powerful Ryzen processor you can get, runs at 120 watts TDP.
Sounds about right. That's what mine runs at.
This is one of the most powerful what would you call that? Like
consumer grade.
Consumer grade CPUs that you can get. It runs 32 threads, 16 cores, 4.2 gigahertz base clock, 5.7 gigahertz boost clock.
And the thing is,
and it runs at 120.
Here's the thing too.
TDP.
AMD, because of the way that they have so much cache on those chips, X3Ds of any generation, they don't need to run at 6 gigahertz to achieve the same performance like an Intel chip would.
Keep in mind, wattage is heat.
Yeah.
And heat is wattage.
Yes.
So that means that these cores are going to be ludicrously easier to cool. Like
I was going to get to that point too.
Yeah, which means you're saving way more money too.
How about you explain then what that means then, if you're trying to build AMD versus if you're trying to build Intel?
So that means that you're going to save a large amount of money on buying a cooler, which
that's one.
The cooler that comes with these. So it says that a liquid cooler is recommended on AMD's website, but that's
depends on where you live. I'll say that for one.
That's true. But let's just say the cooler that comes with it, the Wraith cooler, is going to be, well, does it come with that anymore?
Mine did not come with a cooler.
Oh,
Mine
yeah,
was just the box and the chip.
Yeah, they're going the way of the iPhone.
But I think that's for good reason, though. I think it's better.
Yeah, it's better that way because you need a better cooler.
Because the Ryzen 9 3900X that we bought our friend and installed for him came with a Wraith cooler. And that's
the what?
The 3900X came with that.
The 3900X, yeah, that's the X3D chips are the ones that don't come with the cooler. But that being said, you can buy we love stocking a cooler called the Thermal Right Assassin.
Thermal Right, like Dark Assassin or whatever.
The Thermal Right Assassin cooler. It's a 2-fan a 2-fan
You're talking
tower.
Coils. Two coils, right? What is it?
Two fan. It's a
two fan, but it also has the two. Yeah,
heat spreaders.
Heat spreaders. Okay, let me pull it up. Thermal Right.
Throw a picture of that on
Peerless Assassin, and I will put a picture up there.
It's a beautiful
120. That's what it is. Okay, so you'll pay.
You said how much?
$39.
I thought you said 120.
No, 120, like the size of the fan.
Yeah, 120.
So you're gonna get if you pay for one of these. It's on Amazon for all black. You can get it with RGB and pay $7 more.
Yep.
Right now it's on sale for the normal one, but $40 is the most you'll pay.
Yeah, and
that'll do it.
Those drop. They go up and down, but we were
$30.
buying those for $25 a piece.
We were buying the smaller one.
Nope.
You sure?
The 2-fan. Yep. The Peerless Assassin. $25.
Because there's the non-SE.
I have one right now.
Wait, there's the non-SE one that might be cheaper. Because there is a smaller one.
Well, you could just check the
Here
price.
It is. Yeah. So there's the 120 SE 6-pipe normal one, $30.
2 fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of range, but there's actually a bigger version.
I'm not seeing what you're using right now, but
I'm on Amazon. There's a bigger version of it that is cheaper.
Yeah, the 2-fan. Nevertheless,
it's cheap.
The 2-fan it's cheap. So not only are you paying less for the CPU itself, you are going to be buying a cooler that is way cheaper. Because if you're buying an i9, well, let's be honest. If you're buying these CPUs, you can afford a better cooler. Let's just.
So if you wanted the liquid cooling, you could buy just a $100 cooler and be fine.
If you're buying an Intel CPU, if you're buying the i9, you are going to be purchasing a liquid cooler, a 3-fan,
and preferably an extended width.
Probably.
radiator, or would that
Because
be width or
that's
depth?
going to be putting out at least 100 degrees Celsius. That it's going to be extremely hot the whole time. And I'm not throwing shade on Intel for its performance. It is
because
an amazing
they are
CPU.
top performers.
It's a top performing CPU, but it performs at such good performance. It uses so much wattage and heats up so much. You have to dissipate that heat. You have to buy a cooler that's going to cool that, which costs way more.
And there is one more frustrating aspect from my time working on the Intel station that we've kind of been struggling with. Same exact problem. Intel knows it's a problem, and they don't care.
Yeah, and we burnt one personally. The cooler wasn't on tight enough or something, and just from turning it on, it burned. You can't have a product that does that.
Like back in the day, you could get away with turning on the system to get into the BIOS with the chip bare just to test something.
That's what I used to do, just to get in the BIOS to check it out. Like way back in the day, I'm talking like five years ago now. I used to turn it on, and you'd like
Ryzen
put your
3.
thumb on it, and you'd hold it there while it was turning on. And if it got too hot, you'd turn it off. But you could navigate through the BIOS or check if you had Windows installed just by like turning on the computer without a cooler.
This will burn and ruin itself before that even
If you
happens.
reach the BIOS, it will be burned.
The thing is with Intel is that they know that it's a problem, and there's two things that happen if you buy any motherboard. So this isn't even like a brand by brand problem, because if all the brands do it, it's now an Intel problem, and they will overclock it in the BIOS by default. So if you turn on XMP to boost your memory speed to be exactly what you want, there may very likely be a motherboard overclock being ran and applied to your chip without you even realizing it's on. And the performance that you get from said overclock can be so minimal that undervolting the CPU can get you to almost that performance margin, but drop the wattage immensely. And I did that a few different times to see like what I could possibly do. It turns out the chip was defective, but that would be the way that you would do it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So an interesting find here. I just noticed, you probably already knew this. I think we've had this conversation before. The Intel chip runs at DDR5 5600.
14900K?
Yeah, the 14900.
Was this before or after motherboard BIOS updates? Because that sounds low.
Well, all I'm saying is that's... Here, I'll go on the Intel website real quick.
It seems so low.
Max turbo is 6. Wow.
Lots of valuable information.
Okay,
from
so
Intel.
yeah, 6 gigahertz. But for the memory types, it can go up to DDR5 5600. So here's the thing: AMD only goes up to 5200.
Okay, so
I'm not talking about updating the board. I'm talking about directly from their websites. They say the max speed that these CPUs can utilize RAM at is 5200 of DDR5.
But
and
let me ask
remember,
you this. Wait, so is that for all 4 channels occupied?
yes.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
for excuse me, for AMD, it's 1 to 2 channels. You can use 5200. For 4 channels, you can use 36. For the i9, for 4 channels, you can use 32. So we're a little lower. But for 1 to 2 channels, you can use 5600.
I think that's old information.
I'm pulling it right from their website.
But I'm saying it's so weird because
there are some type of like BIOS updates you can do, right?
yeah, because the thing is, Ryzen.
But I'm talking about strictly from their websites as utilization since the date launched.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
The
to
fourth
me, though,
quarter of
because-
2023, they launched this information.
But just wait, because what I'm trying to say is that makes no sense to me because one of the things about it is that you can run right now on my system. You can run DDR5 6000 on all 4 DIMMs, as long as you. It actually might only be 5666, or it's 6,000 with looser timings.
Well, right now,
But it is possible.
max memory speed for 2 channels.
I'm gonna remote into my PC right now and check because I think I'm tweaking because I'm like.
So I'm just giving.
I'm
you
100% sure. I'm certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that if I remote into my PC right now and run a task manager instance, it'll say 6,000, and it's been running that for months.
I'm just on the AMD website
That
right
is
now,
so
looking
weird.
at the Ryzen 9 7950 3D.
I wonder if they're doing that for like I wonder if their reason for doing that is like less returns.
Don't you void your warranty?
XMP doesn't count as an overclock, so I think that would be for the motherboard. I don't think that goes for the chip. I think there's some semantics there and what that could mean.
I think, but technically, if you go above the speed that your chip allows, if you mess something up, then
But then
you
that'd
voided your warranty
be on the
chip.
manufacturer's fault, because if the manufacturer is selling DDR5 6000 and they have the verified AMD Expo badge, that means that AMD approved it for, as far as I know, it means that it's actually a manufacturer approved configuration, which would then mean that no matter what, you could just use that to say that it's returnable. I love how you say that right as I've quite literally this month just passed my 1 year RMA point. So you're like, yeah, you're voiding your warranty. Oh, excellent. I don't have one anymore.
Yeah.
Task manager. I'm in my PC right now. DDR5 6000 on 2 channels. I think it's 1 and 3. I can't read the timings, but I'm pretty sure it's CL36. I'm not sure.
So when using DDR5 memory, the Ryzen 5 7950X3D CPU officially supports effective memory speeds up to 5200 megahertz.
So doesn't apply to the Ryzen 9 then? Possibly, right?
That's the Ryzen 9 7950.
Really?
Ryzen 9 7950X3D. Is that what yours is?
X3D or X?
Yes, X3D.
Ooh, because I have an X.
You have an X?
Yeah, I've never had an X. I didn't want to spend the X. At the time, hear me out. So at the time, I spent...
Officially supports 5200.
That doesn't make sense to me. Because I bought this a year ago.
So that doesn't mean you can't overclock it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't just run it at
No,
an
it
XMP.
doesn't mean that you can't overclock
But officially
it supports 5200.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
That probably means that it voids your warranty if you go over that.
You don't have to tell them.
That's true.
They can't know.
We do not condone the untruthfulness.
I condoned it until just now. Because I don't have a warranty anymore. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Intel and AMD, I think that AMD has done a great job with Ryzen. I think Radeon is their weakest point. Ryzen is one of their strong points. But they've always found a way to kneecap Intel right when Intel thinks that it's a safe point to kick the legs up and relax. Every time.
Listen, I've just got to say, AMD is great at being patient, and when Intel releases a product, they just release a better one.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much how it's been for not for a long time, but for the past couple of years. AMD just waits for Intel to release one, and then they just release what they have that's better. If they might have ideas that they scrap because they're not as good as what Intel does, but because they're patient, they end up having something that's better.
And I think that's a really good take. I think I agree with that because where we sit right now, there are so many Intel chips I wouldn't recommend because they just don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, so there is, oh my goodness, as I see on the Bing news, it's just, what is TDP? How does it affect your PC's performance?
Don't use Bing, gentlemen.
Don't use Bing.
Don't use Bing. Literally use anything else. Use Firefox, use Google, just not Bing.
But what was I saying?
You were talking about Intel's product stack versus AMD's being more like appealing.
So Intel releases, they have some good chips.
Undeniably.
Are they better than AMD's?
For some things,
Sometimes?
undeniably, yes.
Yes. I think that their lower end chips, like their i3s and their i5s, are really good for productivity. I think that they will always beat, on the lower end, they will always beat Ryzen chips for productivity. I think that is a definitive statement that they're better on the lower end when it comes to surfing the web,
work done.
just doing work. And I will always recommend Intel for office computers. When it comes to gaming, when it comes to
not to mention that they do have the V Pro versions, if you've ever ran into those before, on those workstation chips that have the security hardening. AMD, I've never seen an AMD chip with that. So in some cases, it's completely an undisputed victory.
Yeah, and it's an undeniable victory for Intel on the lower end of the spectrum. When it comes to the higher, the more expensive stuff, Intel still makes a great chip. It's not as efficient as Ryzen. I think Intel still takes the cake when it comes to productivity, but when it comes to gaming and just things with high utilization, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Ryzen is just way much further
Ryzen is
advanced.
not as infantile as Intel keeps thinking they are. And I keep seeing that. I keep getting that impression because people have asked me in the past, "Oh, you're just an AMD guy." It's like, well, not really.
No, I look at the numbers. That's
the price.
my
makes
job.
Two things: the price makes the product. So when the 7950X3D came out, it's like I said, it was like smoke and mirrors. Not because X3D doesn't work. I know X3D works.
Yeah,
we know
it's
it works.
An amazing idea.
But you can't make me spend $800 and something for it.
No, because exactly like you said,
It's
the
a
price
chip.
makes the product.
It's a chip, and believe it or not, at the price point, Intel was offering a more compelling option. The 13900K.
Yeah, I remember
KS,
you said I'm waiting for the 1400 series to launch, and then I'm gonna make my move.
I said
as soon
13,
as they came
and the
out,
second I came out, I was like, "Yep, I'm going 7950X."
Yeah, it dropped, and you're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm right there with you.
It just didn't make sense.
I remember we made the road trip. We made a road trip to a Micro Center, and we got one of those bundles, and
the rest is history.
Off to the races.
And for those of you watching who want like a good comprehensive guide on CPUs, some of the better websites that I've used in the past to make my decisions have been Gamers Nexus.
Or hear me out.
Yes.
Leave a comment.
That also works too. I'll answer any comments you guys might have. Leave a comment.
We'll answer your questions, and maybe we'll start doing those types of reviews and rating content.
I like that idea. Only problem with that is I don't like raging at Intel. I like seeing them do good. But if I put a chip on the chart and it goes higher than 600, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
I'm gonna be inconsolable. You have to drag me out of the
something
lab.
really good. That just means you did a good job cooling it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so you can't be too mad at that.
Do we have enough money for liquid nitrogen round the clock to run a 900K?
We can probably afford
On the topic of Intel again,
hours.
they're not even gonna be I anymore. There's not gonna be 14900K, 5900K going forward. It's gonna be Core.
I think it's time to switch topics.
X,
I think
H,
it's time to switch
Z,
topics.
Zeta.
Let's not
Amazing.
talk about that.
Amazing. I don't even want to talk about it, mostly because I don't even know what the names mean.
Yeah. Listen, I've been doing this for 10 years now with you, and
neither of us want to talk about
we
this.
finally figured out how this works. We finally figured it out. You more than me. And then
okay, listen. Between the two of us, and for anyone watching, just Google it, and you'll be as confused as we are. And you'll not want to talk about it as much as we don't.
Yep.
On a podcast where we're supposed to talk about this stuff. This is stupid. If anyone from Intel is watching this, you guys are being really stupid. Yeah. Don't do this. It's already done, but I'm just saying it for the history books. You shouldn't have done this.
You shouldn't have done this.
Shouldn't have done that.
Should have stuck with what you had.
Should have stuck with what you had. What else is there going on recently? That was kind of the two big ones. Was just Vision Pro drops.
So,
yeah.
Here's another thing. Nvidia's market share. Let me pull up
their really
their
goofy
stonks went up 1,700%. I believe it is.
They've gone up 2,000% in the last 5 years. So yeah, if you bought in let's say March of 2019, and you hunkered through the whole COVID thing and then the dip in 2022,
because
you're a very happy camper right now. You're doing good.
Good job. Let's be honest, the dip wasn't that bad. It went from So we started in March of 2019, and it went up. It never went back down to where it was, which is it's kind of unreal.
Some people get what's it called? People get like the panics whenever their stocks go down at all.
Yeah.
Even if it's.
And these last few months have been outrageous. Just since January of 2024, it had the biggest market leap that it's ever seen.
100%. It doubled.
It went from 490 in January to it went to 926 yesterday. Oh man. I was gonna buy on March 2nd. I was gonna purchase.
I think we should stop being computer people and become stock people. No.
On March 2nd, I was debating it.
That's hilarious. You should have.
Yeah, look at that. March 1st, it was at 822. And then by March 9th or March 7th, yeah, no, the 9th is tomorrow. By March 7th, it went up over $100. Over $100.
Beautiful.
In 4 days?
So let's break down the numbers. Do you want to talk about why this is happening? Or
So,
because we know it's not because of GeForce, by the way.
yeah, it's
It's
not
not because of
GeForce.
RTX.
So,
it's not because of GeForce.
NVIDIA is basically taking the lead when it comes to AI. They are doing almost all the server work. Most AI companies are sourcing all of their graphics and all of their programming, and most of their hardware is just coming straight from NVIDIA. They are sourcing everything from NVIDIA.
And the difference for people who may not know, the thing that makes these computers so sought after is that in your average computer, you have something that's designed to have a lot of cores, a good amount of storage and RAM to do a lot of general tasks kind of at the same time. These are much, much more simple, but then much more infinitely complex in the way that they can do a single selected task
And
incredibly fast.
do you want to know the funny thing? Their next GPUs are going to be using Intel. They're going to be using Intel AI hardware. What is it called? The NPU or something?
NPU, yep.
Yeah, the NPU, they're going to be sourcing their NPUs from Intel because Intel's making a factory in Ohio.
There was one in Oregon that they said there was
Yeah.
going to be. Ohio. There's
um,
probably one in Texas already. I think there is.
Yeah, but they are finally taking some initiative, which might give them a higher market share. It might start boosting Intel up. They're starting to make factories, and they're going to be sourcing them.
So
They're not going to be sourcing them anymore.
they're going to be
From
the thing
what
is
it,
TSMC.
TSMC.
Because the biggest problem with technology right now, and the part of the reason why the COVID craze hit the technology industry so hard, was that you were needing to outsource everything from TSMC.
Yeah.
And like the other one manufacturer
And
that make
TSMC is limiting the amount of silicon each factory. What is it? Each
fab, right? Each fab.
Each fabricator gets.
Yeah.
Just because the shortages.
And keep in mind, these customers are like Tesla, Apple, NVIDIA. For a while, Intel.
I don't know if Tesla's sourcing.
I believe that their chips on the Linux computers inside of their vehicles use it.
Maybe.
But a lot of car manufacturers do outsource from
NVIDIA,
companies like that.
Intel, AMD, and Apple, most of all, are all sourcing from TSMC. So it's good to finally see that we're starting to get our own factories over here.
Let's see who else. So obviously AMD,
Yep.
ARM. So almost every ARM chip. So I'm right, but not because Tesla's buying them, but it's because the chips
phones, right?
Yeah.
So
companies that make those chips, so like Broadcom, that's like your wireless NICs, things like
doesn't
that.
Snapdragon come from there too?
Yep, Marvell, MediaTek, Qualcomm. There's your Qualcomm.
Qualcomm.
Yep, Snapdragon, HiSilicon, Unisoc. All of them are, using or have made use of TSMC's foundry services. So these guys are booked. That's the basics of it. They're booked.
Well,
and they're
yeah,
limiting.
that's why, because they're stopping or
limiting.
They're limiting the amount of silicon that each place gets, which is why NVIDIA is trying to go around that and get from Intel. even if it means buying from a direct competitor, it's fine.
It's better for Nvidia because Nvidia knows what their profits are.
And they know how much of a market share they have.
Well, do you know how much it actually costs?
Nvidia is the most. They have the highest market share in the graphics card industry, and they're going to until somebody steps up to the plate. Like if Intel steps
Radeon
up,
Pro comes back as an AI,
or which
won't happen.
Even if they completely demolish the gaming industry, it doesn't matter. The gaming industry is a small portion of where they're getting their market share from. Most of it's coming from AI now. They couldn't even touch them unless they start taking over the AI industry.
Like I said, unless Radeon Pro has like a Ryzen level times 10 glow up of the century, quite literally glow up of this century, and we see some Radeon Pro AI chips come in and start undercutting, then Nvidia, as of right now, they're incredibly safe. And yeah, I mean, part of the reason I feel like these last two GeForce like kind of lines of products have been so mediocre, especially on the low end. Nvidia knows that you're gonna buy from them anyway. They're just making their customers have to make the decision between which high-end chip to buy at this point. So they don't really feel like giving away free silicon anymore like they used to, and that's kind of reasonable. But considering where they are now, it's amazing how much scalping there can still be done on their end. What did you find?
Yeah, I'm just looking at on Bing because I haven't downloaded Chrome or something yet.
Amazing.
They say Nvidia has a net worth as of February 28th, 2024. It has a net worth of $1,941.58 billion, which is just under $2 trillion.
Crazy. It was like 1.77. Is that right?
1.94.
My goodness, it's gone up.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Like, they're crushing it. I want to see what AMD's is.
Trying to look.
Oh my goodness. AMD's net worth is only $290 billion, which only.
Crazy. I mean,
but
it's like a sixth of the size at this point.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check Intel. It's probably Intel's probably much higher.
That is crazy.
Only 185. Where did it shoot up from? When was the
AMD's?
No.
AMD or Intel?
Nvidia.
Oh, Nvidia. Where did the shoot up come from?
Well, so just for perspective, Intel's is 185 billion. AMD was like 290. It was like 290. 1900 billion.
Yeah.
1.9 trillion.
Yeah, so the shoot up happened. Yeah, so it's way more than I thought.
I'm looking up.
So the shoot up happened during COVID.
It had to have been during COVID.
It was COVID and the AI industry taking off. Is what it had to have been. So the thing with Nvidia that's amazing.
Yeah. The net worth of Nvidia in 2021 was 555 billion.
Yeah.
550 billion. I don't know where I got the extra 5 from. Compared to Apple's nearly 2.5 trillion during 2021.
To be fair, Apple had basically the entire American economy
and
in a chokehold. It still does. Not that it's a bad thing, but that's what it is.
They're 3 trillion now.
Insane. So what I'll say is I think the thing about Nvidia
we got off on stocks for some reason.
Listen, we're jacks of all trades here. And by all trades I mean quite literally all trades. And one of the things that is kind of amazing to me is that, I mean, it's just kind of the power of knowing your own product is the only one that can do what it says it can do, and then just charging whatever the hell you want. Because the chips that these things are like Nvidia is making, like these things are $10,000 a piece, and they're being sold in bulk orders of hundreds.
Yeah, and their prized possession right now as far as sales is APUs, right?
I believe so. I think Jensen, the CEO, had a reveal of a different, like a new,
these
stronger...
APUs are like this big and they're this thin. They go on server computers.
Yeah, and they're crazy.
Yeah,
And what's gonna happen, I guess, is that as long as businesses need AI, which is, guys, always it's the new millennium of the internet. Everyone uses it now.
Which
you want it to be productive, you're buying at least one NVIDIA. NVIDIA
you can't
GPU.
help it.
It's not possible unless you want to waste hundreds of hours of time trying to configure stacks upon stacks upon stacks of Threadripper machines. Then you're buying NVIDIA. And yeah, I mean, even as we own a company, we would probably end up with one, because 4 rack computers that can do what 50 other computers can do. Yeah, sure, why not? Power consumption savings,
and it's also cheaper. They're going to be making it cheaper, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
So yeah, I mean, nothing else really interesting going on so far. The phone cycle is pretty much done for the year. I mean, we've had Apple finished late last year.
We'll just recap real quick. We got the G25 from Google, right? That's what it was.
G25. You mean are you talking about
from Motorola? I mean.
Oh, right. So Google had Pixel 8. We had iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Was it the G25? What?
We had the Motorola, which was the new one, which just came out. That was a budget phone that you were talking about. The Motorola made the G5.
The G5.
The newer G5s. Then we've just had the S24 Ultra. Just came out. And then we're expected to get a Pixel 8a soon, because they released them on a 6th month. A 6 month on average or more. It's supposed to come out right before the next phone comes out.
We got the iPhone 15s.
Yeah.
Did you already say that?
Yeah. That was right after. So it was iPhone 15, Pixel.
We had some. Did we ever make a video on the iPhone 15?
We made a podcast on it, but we actually never finished it. But we could talk about it briefly. But it's old news.
It's old news now.
It's all old news.
We lost that titanium backplate.
Yep. And then, yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, the next thing will be the Pixel 8a to kind of try to take the spot.
Don't worry, we'll be making a video about that.
Indeed. And we're gonna try. That's gonna try to take the spot of. It's gonna try to dominate that iPhone C or whatever. What is it? The
SE.
iPhone SE. Yeah, that's gonna try to offset the iPhone SE's market share. That's kind of why it exists. So they're saying it's gonna be
the iPhone. It was the iPhone C, and then the iPhone SE took over that. Then they've been making upgrades of that.
So yeah, they're saying there's some speculation of it getting a price increase for the Pixel 8a, but what else is new? But until that point, that's really about it. We are just going to sit for now while new GPUs come out, and then we'll update you guys with news. So with that, we're going to close off this podcast. For everybody here who stuck with us to the end, thank you so much for watching. We're really passionate about making podcasts like this, and so if you've watched to this point, just please leave us a comment, show your support. It's great. We love making these. We're going to continue to make them.
Yeah. I had a really good time.
Good. Great. It's awesome. So if you'd like to check out what we do, head to our website at www.gamereadytech.com. Yes, I'm a web developer. I'm going to add HTTP in. My fault.
Yeah.
If you want to follow this podcast, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and for 2 more weeks, Google Podcasts, because they're axing it. So hop on there for the next 14 days. And then just go get us on Spotify, please. We have a Discord on our website that you can freely join.
Yeah,
we're also on
YouTube if you want to see these faces. Don't know why you would want to do that, but
I don't know either. But we do have funny pictures. We put funny pictures up sometimes.
We put the pictures up so that you can see them.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
And with that, we're done. That's it. Bye bye.